Hello there, everybody. Thank you for joining me today for Fast Tracker Advanced Workflows. Waited to see if that magic number of attendees would show. It looks like we just crossed that number. We had quite a few registered for today's event. Probably a lot of them wanting to see the video, as it's in the afternoon here on the East Coast. So we have a lot of European people that probably want to sign up to see the video. We have another week of these coming up. Next Tuesday is, I believe, the administration over again, and next Thursday is advanced workflows for Edge Sync, which is our object cloud real-time synchronization multi-site. So please check those out, register, and of course you'll get the link to the video after it's all done. So looks like we have a good amount of people here, so we'll go ahead and get started. This is advanced workflows for Fast Tracker. I might be crazy to do this on a live demo. There's lots of moving parts, but I think we'll be okay. We'll see how we do. But I want to get into first a little bit of an introduction, just to be sure everyone knows sort of what we're working with here. This is Facilis Technology. We sell shared storage systems, award-winning shared storage systems for content creation, broadcast, editorial. Anyone who uses rich media to get a message across is potentially our customer. And we're a software-based company. We're a software-defined system. Anything we do from the drive sets, formatting, all the way up through our asset management and cloud interface is all software-based. And we develop a lot of the software ourselves. We partner where necessary in some cases, but everything you're seeing today will be, for the most part, going to be our software, because Fast Tracker was developed here, started here about 4 years ago, and it's come to fruition in a lot of ways. And you'll see some new things today, including some of the new features that we're not talking about yet, we haven't announced yet. And so, since there's no trade show, this could be a good time to see a tech demo. So this is NAB New York. This is this week, and we're also exhibiting there as a part of their marketplace. They only allow us a very short demonstration video or video, so we're going to do these in lieu of that. So this is once again Fast Tracker, and Fast Tracker Asset Management is part of a sort of a three-prong approach on our system. Fast Tracker is what is the dashboard for your media. The shared file system and web console is sort of the dashboard for the storage resources and the allocations of storage, the permissioning, and then Object Cloud and Facilis Edge is our archive end and also our remote access system as well. So we cover a lot of bases with all the software that we make, manufacture, and support here with the system, and we're going to be talking about Fast Tracker today. So Fast Tracker indexes media and non-media files. You'll see everything from PDFs to Excel documents to those little nasty camera files that come in that mean nothing to you. You can also filter those out, of course, but we index everything, and we make it useful to you to be able to hold things like projects, scripts, all different things, PSD files, of course, for graphics, still images and media. We'll get thumbnails and proxy where necessary, as well as sound clips, AIFF, WAV files. We can tag with keywords, custom or preset values for tags, keywords, comments. We can do pull-down menus for customizing the content of the tags. So if the same people are in the same, or the camera operators all the time, you'll have those selections of people. If your shoots are always occurring in the same locations, you'll have a pull-down menu for those. We do search within locations, which is our secure browse, which you'll be seeing some of today, or catalogs, and we can do that with modifiers as well. And I did this whole setup, and I realized I hadn't really gone into the searching part of it, because everyone, allows you to search stuff. I mean, that's from Spotlight to Windows indexing all the way up. But we do some things a little bit differently. So we're going to get into some of the advanced search options for us as well as we start up here. So you'll see some of those modifiers, and you'll see the ability to search within catalogs or among different catalogs. We do duplicate file tracking, which is part of what you'll see today in our ability to diagnose whether a file is actually the same file that we've already indexed or not, and then show you the locations of that file. So you can easily track if someone has moved something outside the purview of Fast Tracker, which is going to happen daily. So us going in there and being able to manage that and show you the places where those files have lived or have landed is pretty important. Archiving and cloud integration with Object Cloud and LTO. I'm not going to touch on that too much today. I will show you a wide area network linking to a project that I can do starting off with Fast Tracker and moving of data to the cloud within Fast Tracker, which is a pretty cool feature. But more of that happens next week when we get into our Object Cloud Edge Sync advanced workflows. And then I can show you sort of what happens, what does it look like when multiple people across the wide area network are working on the same project at the same time. And that's going to be a bit more advanced in that area. Moving files and copying of files, we'll get into that as well, because that's one of the workflows that we're going to be covering. It is something that we have designated as an administrative setup, so that the end user is not the one who's determining where all these things go. The administrator has set parameters and profiles for copies and moves, and so it makes it easier for them to really know that these things aren't just everywhere. You know, wherever someone decides they should go, like a drag and drop, it's actually a much more structured way to do it. And then Adobe Panel for Premiere Pro. Some of the things that we're doing today, in fact, a large part of what we're doing today is going to be around the Adobe Panel. We are developing panels for other applications as well. As soon as that's able to be announced, it will. But Adobe is, of course, the first, and we've had the Adobe Panel now for several years. Really, yeah, since for about version 2, I think, for Fast Tracker. So just one more sort of overview slide here, just to get us into the idea of Fast Tracker. The secure browse view gives us the ability to see all of the locations that have been indexed in a hierarchy way. So you see that on the left-hand side of that foreground window. All of the folders that have been indexed, all of the locations, the volumes color-coded for different reasons. If it's online or if it's available to you or not available to you, they'll all show up there. Obviously, the content of that volume being available to you in Fast Tracker means the catalog is available to you. So whether you have access to the storage or not, has nothing to do with whether you have access to the catalog or not, where that storage has been indexed. So two different things, because we may have some people who are outside the storage network altogether, but are still able to browse the content and able to then download locally the proxy or the source file to their local desktop if they need to grab a clip without having access to the storage at all. So it keeps the administrators from having to expose everything to everybody, and you can do it much more granularly. Proxy on demand is something that we introduced in 3.5. And that's the ability to not just proxy on index, but proxy afterwards with multiple profiles that we can produce, including proxying to the cloud, which is something we'll go over today as well. Timecode burn-in is new for version 3.6, and it gives us a way to burn in the timecode. So if you have timecode on there, and this is going to be more important as we move into our logging and transcription stuff, which you may have seen a hint of in the title of the webinar. We're going to get into that a little bit. That's some of the unannounced features that we've been developing. File movement and copy, described already the importance of that. Duplicate file tracking, comment and keyword tags, dropping down the tag data for customizing exactly what content of the tags can be added to each individual record, or to macro records, or to entire folders if you need to. Source and proxy download, I just touched on that a bit. So if you don't have access to the storage location, you can still download or pull the proxy and the source directly from the server over the IP network without having to have mounted any of the storage. So that's new for 3.6. The source download is new for 3.6. We had a download in 3.5. The Adobe Panel, of course, we'll get into that. Very important feature for Adobe Workflow. The entire database is there right in the Adobe interface, but more than that, it gives you a way to sort of manipulate how you send project files and how you share project files and how you send media and share media potentially to the cloud and to remote workstations. And then our archive, Object Cloud, LTO, like I said, not too much of that today. That's more next week's advanced workflows, but generating proxies to the cloud LTO flush and prefetch, which is basically a way to flush the cache drive and then prefetch the information back down from the cloud or from LTO, depending on your source or your target, I guess, of the archive. And then cloud offline indexing. So basically, an offline file has been flushed from the cache drive, but still exists there. It's still a header information of that file. So just to sort of break down a bit what we're going to see today, we're going to get into advanced search parameters, like I told you, sort of last minute addition there. I wanted to go over some of that because, after all, this is a way for you to find the information that's on the SAN and easily find it, even if you haven't added any tags or comments or changed titles of records, you should still be able to find what you need. Indexing manually and auto indexing, I'll go over some of the workflows there, including indexing from direct attached storage on the client desktop with an ingest workflow to send that to the shared storage and then create proxies once that's on the shared storage as a new primary location. Indexing to find lost files. It's a very important thing because any asset management provider who believes that everyone's going to work within the rules of the asset management system all the time hasn't been in the field, I think. A lot of chaos happens on a regular basis in standard post-production and editorial workflows, and things get moved around. Things get copied around, folders get renamed, and you need to be able to find that. Need to be able to find that and have it linked to the same record that was originally built around the original location of that file. So important to be able to do that. We do that. Assigning priority to mount, assigning priority to the record to allow someone else to mount the new location of the record. And I'll show how we can do that as well and make it easy for editors to find where that file went. Especially if it goes offline in their project, they'll go to Fast Tracker and see like, well, that file was there, but now it's here. And so now I can mount that new location and bring it back online. And then file movement and copy to NAS and to cloud. And I'll show you a bit of a workflow of each of that, including, moving, copying, which is duplicating to nearline NAS cloud cache, and then restoring back to the system with the original location of the file there to restore. Getting into Adobe workflows, we're going to do project indexing and sharing with Adobe Productions. So if I'm in a production and I have a project that I want to share with somebody else, I can just have that indexed on the storage and it comes up in their Fast Tracker and double click that or import that as a link to their current project or their production, and it comes up. And so we can manage the sharing and the indexing of files as well as media. So copy project and media to cloud with remote access. There's a little workflow we're going to try that basically, it allows me to send a project with media to an offsite location, and we'll go over that. And then proxy on demand from Adobe Panel, the ability to create a proxy and then assign that proxy to link to the source files so that you can do the proxy toggle on the timeline. And then finally, transcription and time-based markers. We're going to go over that new feature. It's pretty cool, and playback in desktop browse without proxy. So that's something new for the next release as well that we'll be looking at. So let me just bring this up here as my notes so I know what I'm supposed to be doing. So the first thing we're going to be doing is the advanced search parameters. So I'll go first. I'm going to be using my Mac system to do all of this, and so I'll bring that up here. So that's the Fast Tracker admin, and I'm going to go into the Fast Tracker clients now. So Fast Tracker admin and Fast Tracker clients, two different applications. One is sort of a back-end application. You can use it from the client workstation, as we'll show, but it's mostly going to be used on the server side. So I'm just going to go, pick a volume here. I'm going to say it's going to be this one here. There's a lot of stuff here. A lot of stuff that's, runs the gamut between MXF and motion graphics and still files and things without head frames, which probably means that they're sound or AIFF or MP3s or whatever. So the first thing you might do with a situation like this, I'm going to go ahead and bring this up so we can see it a little bit better, is you might say something like, well, show me something that has thumbnails, because I know that it's an image I'm looking for. And then, okay, so that shows you everything with a thumbnail. I know it's motion video I'm looking for, and I want to browse. And so I'm going to find something that has not only thumbnails, but also has a proxy. And so it shows me everything that has a proxy. So now I'm down to only 35 pages worth of records. Now I know it's in a path that contains the word, what was it that I wanted to do? CES, it's the CES show. So I'm gonna do path CES. There we go, down to 7 pages. Okay, so we're doing pretty good. And then finally, I know it's a bit of a long clip that I'm looking for, so I'm going to go one more and do a duration. So it has a duration of greater than 120, which is 2 minutes. Okay, I'm down to 1 page now. So I can go look through all of these and see if this is okay. It looks like this is the CES wrap-up program. Okay, so I can do that. I can see all of these now. I can see all the proxies. I can play those down. And so that's sort of an advanced way to go look for things. Now, if I had things like, you know, the title was something I knew about, the comments were something I knew about, it would be very easy just to type something in. We can use a Boolean term for that too. So say, for example, if I did all of this and highlights, I'll just do a keyword for that. Okay, good. So it looks like I have just down to 3 here that have highlights of CES, duration of over 2 minutes, and so forth. So that gets me down to a pretty good level where I can find what I need. So that's without having any comments, keywords, anything else that really shows me, or without knowing the name of the clip at all. So that's just some indications of the different things that we can do with the advanced searching. Now, if I go to tags here, I can actually add a tag. So if I know that if I know that the name of an artist is replicated across a lot of different clips and a lot of different projects, but the artist tag is the only one I'm concerned with, and I can say artist, you know, the value is Madonna or something. So that's only going to show me where Madonna shows up in the artist tag, not all the things named Madonna, not all the folders called Madonna where the path includes that name. So it gives me a good way to narrow down exactly what I'm looking for, where ordinarily just typing it in would give me 1,000 different results. So that's something to consider there as well. So without further ado, let's go on to the things that are pretty interesting, I think, which is the indexing workflow and the workflow of getting data into the system from the desktop. So this is the this is the admin console, or the admin application. It exists on Mac and Windows desktop clients, as well as the server itself. You see there's only a few tabs here. If you get into the server, there's more to it. But this gives me a way to index something directly from the desktop. And this is something I'll be doing with a direct attached storage device. I'm calling it CAM9847 here. And it has a bunch of stuff in this baseball folder, so I'm just going to drag that in. So it goes ahead and says, you know, here's all the stuff, you know, has multiple values for everything. I can go around and click and see the different durations of these different things and what codec they're in and things like that. But I figure I'm just going to bring them all in anyway and add those to the global catalog. So what it's doing right now is it's creating thumbnails. It's going throughout the clips and targeting certain frames that it can pull to show me a thumbnail scroll of what's going on. So this is why we call it Fast Tracker. It's available immediately. So as soon as I do this, then I go over to my Fast Tracker client again, and I'll have to log back in here. And very simply, I can just say, well, show me everything that's been added in the past 10 minutes. And there's the stuff. So now what it's going to show me, and I can also go do the same thing and just say, well, what volume is it on? And I look here and I see that there's something called a label, CAM9847. So CAM9847 anytime will give me, you know, all of these. And so this one doesn't have a proxy. It just says it's going to retry the proxy because it doesn't have a location on the server to use it. So I'm just going to bring this up, grab that, and drag that over. And as soon as I do that, what's happening on the server side is that it's going through every minute or every 5 minutes, going through an auto index. And I can show you that right here, just in the Fast Tracker admin. So you see here it says Fox Show. Every minute it's going to do it. Last time it happened was a little while ago because there's been no media in there since then. So I hit run now. It's going to go. It tells me the last time it was run was 1424, which is right now. So that's going to go through, and now if I do a refresh here, it says, yep, there's a new location for that. And if I make that the primary, the next thing that will happen is that it's going to go and start to encode that proxy because now it's in the location where that proxy can exist. So let's move over to the other Mac and see what it looks like over there. Because I have two Macs here I can work with. So this other Mac, once I bring up the same interface and go to, yeah, past 10 minutes will be fine. So here's that one. And that clip now shows as online because I have Fox Show mounted here. So no longer is it primary to that hard drive that was on the other desktop. Now it's primary to this Fox Show. And you can see here that since I made that the primary on the server, it's created a proxy for me. And so now I can just view down that proxy. So the idea behind it is you can bring in as much local attached as you want, and everything that you bring in from local attached storage on your client workstation is tagged with the label of that client, of that volume, or of that drive, or of that SAS drive or card reader card or whatever it might be, and that way you can go back to it later. So for example, I see here that there's 3 other clips that weren't brought in with that initial one, but I might want those. So all I'd have to do in that case is bring the hard drive over back to this location. And to do that, let me just go back to my Mac Pro and get rid of that. Physically grab the USB and bring it over to my new Mac system here. And you'll see here that CAM9847 shows up. And upon a refresh, those guys go online. So now it's saying, okay, I found that drive on your desktop that someone else had indexed on their desktop, and it's here on your desktop. So now these are online. So now I have the ability to grab all of these, potentially, and drag them into this Fox Show folder. Good, so now that's all here. Now, what else I could do is I could change the location of this altogether. So this was Fast Tracker allowing me to drag something to a location where it's not sending it itself. So it's outside the purview of Fast Tracker. So it has to go through and auto index, come around with the auto index again in order for that to pick it up. Or I could just go once again to my Fast Tracker admin here and look at that schedule of auto indexing. There it is. Okay. You can go to Fast Tracker admin here and check out the auto indexing schedule. There's Fox Show. Run that now. It's going to happen every minute, but I give it a little push. And now I go back to my Fast Tracker interface, and I'll look and see that all of these now have that second location. So anyone who sees not just the CAM9847, in fact, I'll throw that away. But anyone who can see that Fox Show volume now has access to that media from within Fast Tracker. And here, I just need to go make that the primary for each of these, and that will come online because I have the shared volume mounted. And that's now all online. Now what will happen here is this will go through once again and make that proxy, because now the server sees that, oh, you have a primary version of this copy of this clip that's on the server, so I can now go and make my proxy, do the things, the automated things that you told me to do when something was indexed, and I have access to that location where it is. So it will go ahead and do that in its own time. It takes a couple minutes to come around again, but you see this one already did, and so I already have the proxy here for this one. Now, going back to the original Mac here, and doing once again something in the past 10 minutes. So all the stuff is here, and you can see here that already this one's encoding. So is the next one up is going to start encoding and going that direction. So that is a proxy creation from a new primary location on the server. That is the direct attached storage indexing on the Mac desktop. Now this ingest workflow is going to become something in the next version of Fast Tracker, which is automated. So we're going to have the ability to not only index the media locally, but with a simple workflow, be able to push that to the server, make that the primary automatically, so that the proxy can begin, and everyone gets updated with that information of where that media is. So that's something that we're working on for the next release to sort of bring down those steps. So indexing to find lost files is an important part of this as well. So for example, if I were to mount a different volume here. So for example, that shouldn't be on Fox Show, it should be on Fox Projects. And so I can take all of these files from Fox Show and move them onto Fox Projects, and then just delete the originals. Now, normally for an asset management system, that's not a good idea. You're going to have everything go offline. It's not going to know where it went. So for us, this gives me a way of showing you that delete, that we're going to find it again. Because once again, we have that index going in the background, and here I have Fox Projects that's set to go off every minute. In fact, it just went off, so I'm going to just have it run again now, so that it sees the new changes. You'll see immediately when I go back here, it says that these have all gone offline. So the S in all of these, or the source in all of those, are now showing as offline locations. If I do this, it's going to show me that those have all gone offline. So I simply need to click on that, look at where else that file could be, because now it shows up not only in Fox Show where it was before it was deleted, it shows up in Fox Projects where it is now. And now if I make that the primary, once again, sort of moving that to the primary, which once again, we're going to make this more automated so that when a file is lost and a new location shows up, you'll get some indication of that, and you'll be able to select that all at once and change those primaries. But what we see here is that, yeah, that's going to go through, and it's no longer the last 10 minutes. Let's try that. So it's going to go through and say, now this sees a file that is no longer offline, but it's mountable. That's what that blue means in the S. It means that that volume where the file now lives is mountable by you, and you just need to mount that volume. And sure enough, there it is. Fox Project shows up on the desktop here. That goes to green, and so now I have online access to that whenever I want. And the rest of these, I can do the same thing. Just go to make the primary in these locations. Now, you're probably wondering, like, well, there's this record left over from where it used to be, but what happens to that? Well, all you have to do, if you do a refresh and just verify everything is there where it should be, all you have to do is go through here and say drop missing files. So now if I do that and I go back to the individual locations, you'll see here that old path has gone away. So it tracks where the files have gone. It finds the files again when it comes through on auto index the next time around. And it allows you then to create, to make the primary in the new location, or you could decide to move them back where they should be, rename that folder the way it should have been, and bring them back to their previous location that would just show up online in the previous location. And then you can drop the missing files that it found when they had been moved the first time. So it's really up to you how you want to do that. But the important part is that it will find the missing files for you, it will find lost files for you, and it knows it's the same file. Even if you rename the file, it knows that it's the same file, so it will never be tricked. And it will always show every file location under the same record within the Fast Tracker database. So I want to do file movement now. I think that's an important one. So I'm going to just, I know these were brought on previously. I'm just going to delete those because they're not what I just indexed. So I just indexed these locations, and I can look at these by time-based. I can look at these by catalog-based, but it's a global catalog. I'll see everything. I can look at these by where they are, what volume they live on, or I can look at these through the browse function. So in the browse function here, I can either look at the location where they went, the Fox Projects location, or I can look at the location where they started, the CAM 9847 location, and recursive search. And so there they are as well. So they exist in both locations in the sidebar in the browse because they were originally indexed in one location than the other. So if I want to move these, say for example, I'm done with these. I've cut them into a show. They're all set to go. So I'm going to move those to one of my locations for archive. I have Dropbox, which is just sort of a flat, location where I can just throw things. Everything else is pretty much going to retain the file folder hierarchy, including Move to NAS. Move to NAS is going to get rid of the file in its original location and drop that record location, and then just put it in the location where it's going. So Move to NAS is going to show me on any of these files that it's copying to this NAS location. Once it's done that, it's going to remove it, and you see it's done that. It's removed it from its previous location. Now it shows it on the NAS location as an archived element. And if I do a refresh here, you'll see that I change in the way that this shows up. These show up now as archive locations, unavailable archive locations. They're on a NAS. They're unavailable to me on my desktop, maybe, but they're not unavailable to Fast Tracker, because Fast Tracker remembers where they went. Now, the one thing that we're adding to the next release is this goes back to the last online location and makes that the primary, which was the hard drive we came in from. So we changed that here to sort of make these the primary. So if I just have one clip that I deleted by accident, or if I have something I want to bring back from archive for a particular purpose, I'll just have to make the NAS drive or the archive location the primary location of that. And you'll see that now that changes to what it's calling an offline file. So it's basically saying, like, it's on a NAS drive somewhere. We're tracking it, but it's not something we can show you right now. We can always still show you the proxy, because the proxy is always going to be there, or the preview clip, whatever it might be. This is a preview clip. But now that this is showing as the NAS as the primary, I can do something to restore that to its previous location. So if I decide that I want all of these, or I think just one at a time, to be sent back to its original location, I scroll down here and I have restore either to a custom location or to the Fox Projects volume. So it knows that's where it came from when I pulled it off to the archive. So I just say go, and now you see here pending copy, and it's going to copy over, and now that shows online. So I make that the primary, and I do a refresh here, and you'll see that changes the status of the clip. Now that comes back online for me. So this is obviously one clip at a time. This is something you want to do as sort of a macro between locations, and this is something that we're putting into the subsequent releases here to sort of make these things happen in a more macro way. But for someone who's just lost a file, needs to grab a file, sees the proxy but needs to see the source file, they can just bring that back from the NAS real easily and restore it to its previous location. So that works well. That's only in the case where you've moved something. In the case where you've copied something, it's going to be a duplicate in both locations, so you don't need to restore it. In the case where you've moved something, you'll have that restore function available there. And moving, of course, does it does delete the original. So it's something that you have to be aware of. When you move something as opposed to copying, you have both options within the Fast Tracker admin to both move and copy. So please be aware that moving is a destructive operation. It will delete the original, but only after it verifies that it's shown up in the place where you think it's gone. And that goes for cloud as well. And I'll show you that more on the Adobe side here in a minute. So moving on from there, I wanted to show some Adobe workflow stuff and project indexing and sharing within Adobe Location. So I'm going to use this media here, but I'm going to use it within the Adobe Premiere. So I'm going to open this up. That's going to launch for a second here. The Adobe panel is available from the Adobe Exchange online. It's available from us in our package. We use something called the ZXP installer, and ZXP installer launches up and allows you to drag the ZXP, which is a zip file that just has a little bit more information about where it's supposed to go. And in the ZXP installer, it just installs it properly where it's supposed to go. So I'm just going to do a new production here. I'm going to put that right into the Fox Projects drive. I'll just call it Jim's. So the Fox Projects drive is my local drive here. I'm going to go to Resolve Mac, go to Fox Projects, and choose that, and go. So here's my production. Now I'm going to log in and see the media that I want to search for. And just go to, I'm just going to do that last hour thing. So there's, oops, all volumes. So there's the stuff I want. So it's all online for me. I can see that it's there. I can look at it in a preview window here. I can expand the preview window out to the entire window if I want to see that. And I can either import it by drag and drop to the timeline, drag and drop to the project window, or I can use this little import button here, which puts it into the project in the Fast Tracker imported folder. So if you want some more structure to what you're doing than just drag and drop, it gives it to you in that way. So I'm just going to grab these, throw that stuff in the timeline, and there's all my stuff. Okay, so this project now exists within a production that lives on a volume that's being tracked through through our auto indexing. So through auto indexing, it's constantly going to be indexed, and thereby it's going to index any new information that that comes in, including my project files. In the meantime, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a copy, options, copy to cloud. So as I see this here, I'm going to, on each one, see that it lives in its current location, also lives in cloud, Fox projects, so forth. And those have all been copied over, and you can see here that they're on object cloud cached. So I'm going to bring this up, unmount the cloud volume, unmount the other volumes that I have, and bring up what's called Expand Drive. So Expand Drive is my mounting of the cloud bucket, and the cloud bucket will appear on the desktop here called Facilis Cache. Facilis Cache is an instance of the cloud bucket that my object cloud is using when it's going out and sending data to the cloud from my cache volume. So you see here, if I go into my Facilis Cache and I go into this, I'm going to see a couple things happening here. One is I'm going to see Fox projects. So you see here, this Facilis Cache volume is the instance of the S3 bucket. Yes. Okay. Let's go to untitled. Okay. And I'm going to offline that. And so what I can do here is I can bring in these. There we go. Okay. So now, as it's importing that media, it's downloading it from the cloud. So all the files that I've placed on the cache drive back in the facility that uploaded to the cloud, they're existing on the cloud. They might also be on the cache volume in the facility, but on this client, it's only on the cloud, so it needs to actually come down and be seen. Change sequence settings. And there it is. So that is moving from Fast Tracker Adobe Panel, moving files to the cloud cache volume, and enabling that to happen. So that's a bit of a stuttery version of that feature, and it worked well yesterday, of course. But that's sort of the idea: is moving both the project file and the media files to the cloud volume, and then being able to bring that up through an instance of that cloud volume on the desktop of a remote workstation that's only internet connected to the system otherwise. So I wanted to show assigning proxy to source. It's something else we can do as well. So as an example of that, I want to get into back into my Mac Pro here. And we can create proxies either on index or on demand. That gives us the way to, geez, nothing's paying attention to me right now. It's not even watching. Gives me the way to, I may have to do it from the other one. Assign those proxies to the source media clips. So let me go over here. I'm going to get rid of this project altogether here. Get rid of all that. And go back to my Fast Tracker and last hour. Okay. So here's all my stuff. You can see here that Fast Tracker is still showing me all these. It's showing me in blue because these are not mounted to my desktop, but I'm just mounting them now. And now I can drag those down to my project. Imports much faster because they're local. And what I can do from here is I can go to the location where the proxies exist. I can either create proxies on demand from these. So for example, I'm just going to grab these all and tell it to create a proxy that's an HD high-res proxy. So it's going to go through and do that. And each of these now will show up as encoding. It's going to show up as queued depending on how, what process it's in. That's queued up, that's encoding. So once that's done, I'll be able to go into the master clip section here, or the source clip section here, and choose these and go to proxy and go to attach proxies. So I'd have to have the proxy volume mounted locally to do this. So I'll go into my, oops, HA system test. I don't want that. I don't need a speed test right now. I'll go into my client console and bring up the proxy volume. So from here, I will say attach. I'll go find the first one, which is going to be proxy, HD-Res, Fox Projects. Okay, and there it is. So that now attached all those proxies to these clips so that I can do the proxy toggle on the timeline. So I want to show you, before we have run out of time here, the new transcription feature. And that's something that we've been working on for a little while. We decided that the transcription feature for us was going to be something where you didn't need to go to the cloud. Because there are lots of transcription features out there that require that you upload everything to the cloud to get transcribed and then bring it back down. So for us, that's not going to be the case. So we're going to, I'm going to go straight over to my server here and show it to you from here. So some new things here. The viewer looks a little bit different. We're changing some things about that. I can now, even if I don't have a proxy for something, so for example, this Amsterdam clip has a proxy. If I just delete those altogether and have no proxy available, and I just do a refresh here and see the proxy go away, I still have the ability to play back because I have it set to play source. So it's actually playing the source without having to play the proxy. Now it assumes that I can get the source quickly through the IP network to the display, which, for lower res stuff, that's fine. For higher res stuff, it might be a bit choppy. Proxy would help with that. But this is showing me the source media and not just a proxy. So I can really get away in a lot of cases without having to make a proxy at all, if all I'm going to be using it for is to show the display, because it will show the source media display as long as the source media is there. Another good reason for a proxy or a preview clip is to maintain well after you go to archive. So you go to archive with your cloud or LTO, you don't have to drag it back every time to look at it. You still have that preview or the proxy clip there to look at, and before you restore it back from cloud or LTO, for example. So that's one thing. The next thing is transcription. So I'm going to go and just really quickly mount up the volume that I was using before that had some interview footage. And here's my client console. I'm going to go to Fox Projects and mount that. So from here, I'm going to go and just do a quick index of this Fox Projects, and let's see, something that's going to have some words to it. I'm sure they all do. I'm going to add those to the catalog called on-prem global. It does that. Okay, so from here now I can just do a quick search on. There it is, Fox Projects, and here's that. Now, what this is giving me the source playback. It doesn't have a proxy assigned to it. This button here is going to send it to transcription. So let me find the shortest one here. That's a 36, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going to send that to transcription. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to use the local software, and it's about real time right now. So it's not extremely fast. But what it's going to do is send it over, it's going to play it into the transcriber, it's going to transcribe it for me, and it's going to give it to me in a time-based way, so that each of the transcribed elements are showing up in a time code range based on the time code that it's seeing on the clip. These clips, I believe, don't have any time code, they're probably just time of day. So they're going to show it to me in the absolute time code of that clip and the range of that clip where those transcriptions exist. So now let's see if I have enough time to have that show up here. I can always tell by what's going on here whether or not the transcription is actually happening. And this pull down, while that's going on, let me just go to interviews here, because you can see it having been done. So I can give you the fully baked version of that. So here I have some transcriptions that were already done. So where the heck are they coming from? Doesn't everyone have a phone? They're coming from everybody. So all of these are transcriptions that occurred on this clip and are giving me time code based ranges for that. So if I want to see where that's being said, what percentage of the industry's ads, I can double click on that, and that's what he's saying at that moment. I can play that through. What percentage of the industry's ads? And now within this time-based display as well, I can play it down, and I can actually start to add markers as well. So if I add a marker right there, and I scroll down, I see that's the marker it added at 51.576, and I'll put in talking. Later on, I can see that's down to about here, so I'll add a marker there, and there's my new marker, and it says hand movements. So I can start logging, and of course, it'll become more streamlined as we get closer to release, where I'll be able to use keyboard commands. We want to incorporate a lot more keyboard commands so that markers can be done, and the marker data placed in automatically, so it'll be much more quick to do these things. And the end game here, of course, is that we have these markers exportable. So as we import data to Adobe, for example, the markers come with it, and maybe even the transcriptions if we find a good way to incorporate that in the sidecar data. So that's sort of the plan going forward with this. And obviously the project linking and wide area network project linking and all of that I tried to do here with that instance is much more smooth when it comes to Facilis Edge. And Facilis Edge is definitely going to be a much more improved method of bidirectional synchronization when it comes to these project and media sharing workflows. And whether you're using Fast Tracker or not, that's going to definitely be an improvement. How can we export the transcript to SCC or other formats? That's what we'd like. That's a question that I have. That's what we'd like some feedback on. Is what do you need? What do you need to be able to export the transcripts? What do you need for exportable form for these transcripts and this data? Because we're sort of just starting on this feature. We want to deliver something that's usable for you, whether it be tab delimited, whether it be some text format that we should be doing. So any other questions you have, please go ahead and shoot them into the questions area here, because we're just about out of time. How would you go about tracking down a duplicate file with the different file names within the same volume? If it has different file names, it's going to be part of the record of the original file. So even if it has a different file name, it'll just show you the file name is different. So for example, here, I see the file name is Seven Stone Project Interview CMV such and such. All it will say is a secondary file name will be that a different, the same path, but a different name. It knows that it's the same file, so you'll see it just as a second record, a second location, a second file name location on the same record. So it automatically figures that out. Proxy videos, Jeremy had a question about proxy videos. Proxy videos are stored wherever you tell them to be stored. So if I go into my, let me show you this here. I said nothing is working out today. There we go. So if I go into here, you'll see that my proxy presets are set up in such a way to have a volume and a path. So volumes for me are either going to be cloud, because I'm proxying to cloud. It's going to be a proxy volume, which I created to be a proxy volume. The previews volume, which is sort of by default always there, and the previews volume is always where the previews are stored, or any place else you want them to be. The trick is that if you have a proxy location, you don't want it right next to the source location, because we obscure proxy locations for being indexed, because obviously we don't want to be indexing proxies. We already know they're there. So that's one one asterisk is they should be on a location by themselves, and if possible, don't have source media at a lower location in the folder hierarchy than the proxies. That's really the only thing to worry about. But otherwise, they can be wherever you'd want. We realize that for security purposes, you may want to have the proxies and the online media in the same place, but also for the purposes of having those proxies around long term after the online media has been deleted or archived, then it's better to have it in its own location. And that proxy or previews volume does not need to be accessible by any client. It can only be accessible on the server, and you can only see those proxy and preview files if you have access to that catalog data where that clip exists. So any other questions on the new things that we're talking about for Fast Tracker? As I mentioned, the ability to play back sources in the Fast Tracker preview window is big. The ability to have transcriptions, time-based range transcriptions, and also markers on a timecode base is new. And as you saw before, the ability for me to index locally, move that to the server, change primaries, and have the proxies created and all the links created to that new server location instead of the direct attached storage location. Those are things that we expect to be able to accommodate. Along with the logging, it's going to become a lot more of a sort of full end-to-end workflow software, and not just a tracking software for either production or post-production assets. Bob is saying, with the goal of having only one copy of any piece of media and sharing it with all projects, how does Facilis handle one editor trying to delete it when it's still attached to another project? So when you delete something attached to a project, projects don't have the idea that the media is locked for any reason. So with any system today, you can delete a piece of media under a project. There's nothing in Fast Tracker that does project manage. It's not a PAM, for example, that locks down media that's been assigned to a project or been checked out or checked into a project. So we don't have project level designations for media that would keep anyone from deleting something. So certainly it's up to the administrators to be sure that things can come back from deletion if a deletion does happen. Any other questions on what you've seen today? Once again, you'll get a copy of the video. I'll take some of the ums and ahs out of this one, but you'll get a copy of the video once it becomes available. And please sign up for our webinars next week. Next Tuesday is the admin webinar, which is going deeper into the admin feature set of the web console, admin console, which we did once already a couple weeks ago. We're doing it again this coming Tuesday. And the next one is the Edge Sync advanced workflows. That will have lots of moving parts. So we're going to have different nodes and different locations across the internet and different applications moving. So if you want to see some ums and ahs and things go wrong, please show up for that. If that's all, then yeah, please sign up for the next webinars, and thank you very much for spending some time with me today. Take care.